Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your time. And welcome to the first ever ITC Expert Forum. I am Kim Wong. I am the Professor of Practice for ITC for Fashion Retailing and Marketing. And today, I am delighted that I will be your facilitator for this afternoon. Before I invite the panel to come to the stage, I would like to invite the Executive Vice President of PolyU, Dr. Miranda Lowe, to share the welcome speech. Dr. Lowe, please.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's my honor to welcome all of you to this forum. Fashion is a fast-paced industry. Even though I'm not a fashion designer, I'm also a fashion lover. So moving even faster is the development of technology. And what's moving the fastest? I guess it may be the customer's mind and interest, because we can see there are new products coming in every day. So customers' minds keep changing. So all these disruptions have reshaped the global fashion industry and present a new context for the industry to rethink. So questions such as how to grasp the market opportunities, how to make use of AI and digital marketing, how to enhance customers' experience, etc. So in short, how to better equip for the new retail era. And that's the theme of this forum. We are grateful that this afternoon, many experts in the fields of fashion and beauty, retailing and e-commerce have come together to share with us their insights and experience. Thanks to all the support, I'm honored to say that Hong Kong Polytechnic University is known for our close connection and partnerships with the industry. More recently, our Institute of Textiles and Clothing, ITC, has established the first of its kind fashion AI dataset, which aims to meet the needs of the fashion retailers and to enrich customers' experience. I think Professor Kelvin Wong, the Associate Head of ITC, also one of the experts in the discussion session, can share more with us later. PolyU's Institute of Textiles and Clothing has a proud history since its establishment in 1957. As the leading provider of professional education and the research hub for fashion, textiles, and retail industry in the past 60 years, our university strives to nurture the much-needed talents and advance the development of industry through our research. Along the way, we place great emphasis on the industry and in university collaborations. This forum is one example, and we look forward to many more collaborations with the industry. Once again, we thank all the industry elites for being with us today, and I believe our colleagues and students can learn a lot from your expertise and experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lowe. Truly, today is a wonderful time that all the experts from different fields to come together to share their experience with the students and the alumni and also the industry partners. We're excited because we will touch on different aspects of the industry throughout the whole entire supply chain, from branding, from customer engagement, design, and all the way to AI and technology. So I hope you will enjoy. Please welcome the speakers. I would like to invite the speakers to come on stage with me. Please, Blondie, Eugene, Alessandro, Morgan, and also Jimmy, and of course our own Professor Kelvin Wong. Please have a seat. My goodness, fashion people looks good, huh? The the very first questions, I think this is the part that we are all waiting for. I actually want to direct my questions to Blondie, because Celine has been a very, very successful luxury brand in the past years. Even though in the past years, the market has focused heavily in e-commerce, in digital, in all the platform. But Celine has only recently announced the e-commerce in the beginning of this year. Can you share more brand strategies with us about Celine?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Just want to say hello to everyone, and it's my pleasure to be here today, and thanks to Kim and the PolyU executive member. So I hope everyone have heard of our brand. Celine is a French brand which is part of LVMH group, who owns Louis Vuitton, Dior, Fendi, etc. We, as a company, I think before answering Kim's question, it's important to talk a little bit about the brand. The brand was re-engineered 10 years ago with the joining of a new creative director. So the Celine now that you see in our shops basically started around 10 years ago. So relatively a short history in the life of this brand. So it kind of affects how quickly we enter into e-commerce. So that's kind of the first point. I think, yes, I think Celine is relatively a late starter in terms of omni-channel experience. We only recently launched our e-commerce in France, which is owned by us ourselves. So we have not worked with any other e-commerce retailer in the market. So we launched it around 6 months ago in France. It's not because we do not think e-commerce is important. Quite on the contrary, right from the very beginning, we understand that the most important thing is our customers. So we feel this is part of our customers' lifestyle to be searching online and looking at information and shopping for the convenience. So there was no question about the importance of e-commerce. And also being able to use this as a communication channel to our clients. So that wasn't the question. What we actually was spending a lot of time and debate is on how we want to make sure this online experience is in line with the store experience. So if a customer go to shop in the store, the product range that she's going to see, and more importantly, the kind of service that she's going to receive, what we call a customer journey in the store, needs to reflect in the same way as her experience online. So that really is really the key factor. It took us a longer time, to really understand the mentality, what the market is offering, and how do we make sure the Celine in-store experience is connected with the client's online experience. So that was really the key reason. And with that in mind, we come to a conclusion that the e-commerce platform for Celine needs to be basically owned by Celine ourselves. So we truly believe in having a quotation mark control on our e-business is really the way to go. So in order to do that, we have to obviously put resources behind and do all the things that we need to do. And what I think it was actually, on the other hand, if we look at it, in the last few years, I'm sure we see e-commerce growing very fast. And at the same time, I think there is a feeling of maybe a little bit of an overcrowded environment. I mean, there is a lot of touch point distribution for a lot of brands. I think some of the brands who, especially on the luxury level, are really rethinking about what is the level of distribution channel the brand needs in e-commerce. I think there is more of a feeling of editing back than opening more. At least from a luxury point of view. So I think it gave us actually quite a good chance to pace ourselves and enter at the moment when all these situations help us to really understand what is the better way to do it. So we started with France in last quarter of the year, and we will roll out to the rest of Europe within this year and the US as well. So within the next 2 to 3 years, I would say we will be able to really service our customer on a global level.
So it is interesting, Blondie, that you have mentioned as a luxury brand, it is the edit, it is the control, and it is interesting that Celine is owning your own e-commerce platform. That is a very interesting aspect. But I would like to also direct from another aspect. We see another industry, which is a beauty industry, that Morgan is in, Shiseido is has a huge market share in this 265 billion business in 2017. And they have established very quickly or aggressively in the e-commerce and also AI. Can you share a little bit? Is it a different industry, has a different approach from a luxury's point of view? Morgan?
Yes, so even though I'm not in fashion, I think beauty, it's a product. And in the end, whether it's fashion, shoes, or fabric, textiles, I think the product is actually the tool in which we are engaging the consumer. So your question?
The question is from the beauty business, especially Morgan, you're voted as one of the most innovative retailer recently. What is the innovation means to Shiseido, and how does Shiseido as a company embrace innovations? Is it slightly different from a luxury point of view?
Yeah, so
in
last
terms of
year inside
beauty?
retail, they nominated 50 leaders in Hong Kong. In fact, one of the panelists, Carson, is here, so thank you. And so I think one of the reasons why I was selected was what we had done as a company to transform the people culture in our business. That allowed us to maintain market share and grow in what was a very difficult time after October 2014, if you remember, with OC. So 2015, 2016, the Hong Kong market was quite depressed. There was less PRC, mainland Chinese, which is a big contribution in terms of sales. And I think there was lots of tension, so people were not shopping. So the organization changes that we put in allowed us to do things differently, to have a different mindset, and that allowed us to try things. So one of the things that we did was put together a digital team, and this is something that our competitors, L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, I know they haven't done this, which is put together a digital team. We called it the digital transformation. It was very important for me to have the word transformation in this, what the industry normally calls as DSS, digital shared services. That sounds less sexy, and so we wanted to have transformation in the team. And basically, it was about centralizing expertise. So whether it was CRM, insights, market intelligence, and analysis into one team. I'd like to back up and say that Shiseido, yes, I'm president of Shiseido, but we actually, like LVMH and Kering, they own many brands. And so we have about 25 brands in Hong Kong. And so we have beauty brands, we have color brands, we have professional hair. And so one of the reasons why we want to centralize the digital expertise was that I didn't necessarily want 5 digital teams across our 5 prestige teams, and one sitting in consumer and one sitting with our professional hair. So it was really about efficiency and having the expertise in one, and then sort of serving as a consultant for our brands. And so innovation for me is not necessarily digital or technology. It's sometimes taking an existing process or ways of working and doing it differently. It requires courage because you have to be able to sort of plow through and get buy-in from people who may not want change. I joined the company 3 years ago, and at that time, with the exception of one direct report, everybody had been in the company for 15 years plus. So there was a sense of, oh yeah, we're doing well. Why reinvent the wheel? And I knew that the reason why I joined was not so that I would maintain as usual, keep status quo. So it takes courage. It also takes a sense of curiosity. What if we try this? And that for me is what drives innovation. So I would say that was one reason why I was recognized, and I'm very grateful. It also dovetails into how we want digital acumen to be embedded in how we hire people, our JDs, because that is going to be a new norm. As Carson actually said in one of his speeches, digital is a mindset. It's not a particular capability. It's how you approach things. So the ability to have that mindset, the ability to change, for me is innovation.
I think that's a fantastic point, that innovations is not just working with what you have, is having that mindset. But it's also interesting that, Morgan, you have mentioned, with all the innovations, it is to centralize the informations. That is one aspect from the beauty. But I realized that from another expert, I realized that they are more on regionalizing the customer informations or customer engagement, such as Farfetch, that is working with JD, because you want to specifically regionalize your customer, informations. And Jimmy, from Farfetch's partnership with JD, what is the development? What is the objective of that particular partnerships?
Oh yes, yes, Kim. Frankly, it's a very huge capital injection for Farfetch that I believe Farfetch couldn't really resist this because adding up all together, we have, first of all, from Farfetch is for customers. I mean for students. So first of all, it's a very new company. We only started our business we are celebrating 10th years anniversary this year.
Interesting, 10 years.
Only 10 years of e-commerce.
Already that establishment, yeah.
Only 10 years of e-commerce experience. And then, of course, we started very small. We started in Portugal, and then we developed our business in London. And then after that, we have several rounds of venture fundings. Then the last round comes to JD.com. And then this is really, really a huge capital investment adding up the previous 8 rounds. It's more than the total of the previous 8 rounds. So that is one thing. And then, of course, we are targeting to have our development in China. So this is our #1 goal within 5 years. This definitely, China is the second biggest market of luxury industry in Hong Kong. In the world, and we really have to develop that area. And so this is how it comes to a collaboration with JD. So apart from the capital injection, what we are fishing from JD, basically it's about marketing, because of course we know that JD, they have a strong collaboration with WeChat. So basically that is one of the marketing channel. Of course, internally with JD, because I also have JD background, I also work in JD, so I know a lot of them. And then I think they have a very strong digital marketing platform. So so for Farfetch, we can definitely tap into the Chinese business instantly with the help. So that is one thing, that is on marketing. And then JD, the other good thing is they have a very strong logistic operation in China. So they have bonded warehouse, they have their own logistic team. basically it's like a DHL or FedEx. So they very, very strong logistic flow. So basically, if we need to tap into the region and we need to ship our orders to second-tier cities, third-tier cities, that will be a good help.
So there's the efficiencies to reach to your customers to complete that customer experience.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, but interesting, Jimmy, that is the partnership with Farfetch, but Farfetch with JD, I hear a lot of, customer engagement, customer segmentation, and customer, experience and whatnot. And I understand that Farfetch is also planning to open up the store of the future. How does that round up that whole customer experience? The plan?
So store of the future.
Yeah.
Store of the future is one of the store that we would go for in very short future. So basically, with that store, we have a lot of technology, innovations, ideas within that store. So basically, so first of all, Farfetch, apart from an e-commerce marketplace platform, we also own the boutique in London called Browns. And then we are using Browns as our project. So basically, whatever we want to launch, as in AI, or we want to test any logistic flow, things like that, we will use Browns as the base and then to roll out. So Store of the Future is something that we are having in our roadmap for 2018 and 19. Inside that, we have a lot of innovative ideas, such as, do you want me to elaborate more?
I think, well, not so much,
Or
not
what?
because of time. I think we understand that the innovations with the AI and the technologies, which is really interesting because we realize that, e-commerce wants to build store wants to build e-commerce, how to, integrate all this, but not only store, not only retailers. When we talk about AI, we actually, from a school perspective, we are also, developing or leading AI, such as our own, Professor Calvin Wong. He has just worked with a project with Alibaba on the AI and fashion data set. Calvin, can you share a little bit more, because it's quite revolutionary and it's quite in line with what we have talked about, be it from a luxury point of view or from a beauty point of view and from an e-commerce point of view. So now it's from an academic and a partnerships. Can you share more about that?
Okay, I think most of you have come across that some AI technology companies and even some online stores, they would like to highlight so-called the personalized experience to the online shoppers. Like for example, image search engine, mix and match database, even style list advice. So of these actually are underpinned by a very big engine. You can say the AI engine. But the key issue is that when you have tried, to use this kind of service, you will find that sometimes, the performance is not very promising. The reason is that we don't really, teach a machine or a system, how to understand what is fashion. So this is, the rationale behind. We work with Alibaba Group, to develop a revolutionary so-called the fashion AI data set. And the main purpose of this data set is that we embed with the professional fashion knowledge and AI requirement. Particularly when we talk about AI in these few years, one of the most powerful tools is called the machine learning, deep learning, and even, in technical terms, neural network, learning. Actually, we put the focus on developing this kind of fashion data set. Right now, this data set is composed of 400,000 images of women's wear. The main purpose, the main function of this data set is that we can train up a machine, a system, to know the product category of a fashion image, and also the key elements of this kind of apparel item. Say, for example, the design of the neckline, the color shape, and even, the details of the lapel. All of this, we must provide, the system with a very, very comprehensive teaching material. I would say teaching material for the computer to learn. And it is very, very, time-consuming and very complicated. But actually, we have successfully developed this kind of data set. But right now, we just put the focus on the women's wear. We will proceed to, to extend to the other products. And it is one of the key important points, how to solve this kind of problem. As mentioned, the performance is not very promising. And this is the first of its kind data set, to train up so-called the system or the machine. And yes, this is
it is very,
the reason behind.
it is amazing, to teach the machines in terms of all these colors and trims and all the styling and silhouette. But I want to ask Eugene, as a designer, the machine is learning so quickly. So will you be, concerned that eventually all the designs will come from machine instead of your own, own creativities? What do you think?
Of course, I'm going to be worried about things
I
like that.
see you very calm. You're not sweating at all. So tell us why.
Well, if you look at movies like 20 to 30 years ago, they predict all this technology actually becomes real technology these days. So which means like cyborgs, robots, clones of humans who can, design like real human. Might happen one day. But I think it will happen like in the far, far future, but not like right now, not like the near future. So I'm sort of like, I worry about that, but not like near future, not like right now. Mainly because I think there is two reasons behind that. One is the notions of artifact. Artifact is like products, man-made products, things that designed, created by human, had that kind of like human connection to it, embedded in it. Music, films, art, designs, they're all artifacts. The reason why these products or this kind of artifacts are valuable is because it's unique, is because it's got human emotions embedded in it. And right now, I think majority of the population on Earth still treasure and value things like that. People still like to go to music performance with real human performing. Still like to go to theater and look at real people performing. Still like handmade this and handmade that. Until one day, the majority of the population. I'm not talking about small population, but like majority of the population stop appreciating artifacts. Then that's the time when we have to really worry about it. The second reason, I think creativity is one of the hardest things to simulate.
Thank God.
So many data involved to really train a computer to work like humans. The major reasons behind that is because creativity needs emotions. And one of the biggest biological characteristic for human characteristics of emotions is boredom. Human gets bored all the time. That's why they design new things. And human gets bored and sick of new things all the time. That's why they revive old things. And the frequency of human getting bored and start to think of crazy ideas and start to design crazy things is quite random. It's unpredictable. So I don't think any algorithms or mathematical solutions right now can really simulate boredom. So boredom combines with curiosity and imagination, fantasy, makes the greatest creativity. And this is still a human thing.
Yes. Yes, and it gives me great comfort when you say, when boredom actually leads to creativity. I would like to share with all the students, when you folks feel bored in class, start creating in your mind, okay? Don't just, get bored. But I think one thing that I wanted to touch on, Eugene, you touch on that human emotions, human, creativity, which is important because from a fashion's point of view, we like to touch. We still crave for that human interactions, which leads me to Alessandro's because, selecting talents, selecting, young people, young talents, or even management. We, of course, Caring Group are very into, development, innovation, like all of our partners. But what do you folks do in the human point of, human side? How do you folks train and cultivate your talents?
Thank you. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me. I'm very happy also to be with such a distinguished group of people here. Thank for the compliment as well. All fashion people looking good, but professors in fashion looking good as well. I was actually in this very room just last Wednesday to speak at another conference, so good to be back. But to answer your question, maybe two things I would suggest to keep in mind in planning career paths if you will want to work in fashion is one, to always stay close to the core. So having an experience in retail on the shop floor, if you have a chance, that is gold. Whatever is your planned career, at the end of the day, an industry is defined by where things happen. And stores are, or future stores, is where things happen for us. So it is very important, and we see it, to be very concrete, we see it more and more as a criteria when we select people also for top management position. If they do have such an experience, it definitely helps to have a different mindset and knowledge. And the second thing is, I think it was very clear from also the other comments that digital is not a part of a company. Digital is everywhere. Digital is a mindset, as we were hearing. So making the effort of trying to be as close as digital evolutions in whatever field you will choose is extremely important. So if you want to be in finance, go and find interesting things happening in digital in finance. If you want to be in HR, same thing. So those two things are very important. Then the way we approach talents is changing quite a lot in this very period. So we're having a whole HR transformation, as we call it, in the group. And particularly, again, to be concrete, we're putting in place quite a number of tools. We're implementing a tool called Workday, which is a HR system for all of the group. For the first time, all of the brands everywhere will be connected on the same system, another platform for communication and engagement. And I don't bore you with the details, but what the important point here is that everyone, every employee starting from 24th of September this year, will be able from their mobile, for example, to see all the vacancies, apply to the vacancies, navigate all the organization of any point of 30,000 people, try to understand, which networks they can form that by themselves, request for a mentor out of all of 30,000 people. And the message here is that when you hear career is in your hands, this will be extremely true when you will join companies in the very near future. So my invitation is that there are basically three kinds of people. When they want to have a career in an organization, there are those who just sit there and wait for the boss to propose something. There are those that continuously go to the boss and say, what about promotion, what about promotion? I would invite you to be the third kind of people, who are those who are not looking only at their boss, their department, but looking around in the group, in the company, in different departments. You will have such tools. We are putting them in place, but it is extremely important to be curious, as we were saying, all around, and you can very well drive your careers much better than an HR professional can propose to you.
I think it is a fantastic terminology that you have mentioned, which Morgan has mentioned, is transformations. I think the talents that we acquire from young people 10 years ago is very different from what skill sets that young people need to have to be successful in the industry. With all this digital accessibility, with all this information that they can instantly get, I'm going to apply that back to a brand positioning, such as luxury brands. So I'm going to direct this question back to Blondie again. When information is so easily accessible, will luxury brand become too common? Because before luxury, we felt like we are very special because not too many people can get to it. But right now, everybody, has an accessibility to so-called luxury. What do you think from a brand positioning point of view? Will it become too common?
I think the answer is yes, if you don't manage the digital experience well. I think there is a potential of oversaturation, over-distribution, or there could be a price gap between if you buy it in Hong Kong versus you buy the product in the US. There could be a markdown sale timing difference, and I'm sure you all know to go and find the product where it is the most get you the best value. So it could lead to all these problems if if the brand don't manage the distribution well, if you don't have a good policy on how to work with the partners. So I guess like any other business, it could lead to something like this. But I think from all of us here, I believe we see digital or e-commerce as a way to be inclusive in our business and not exclusive. I think luxury brands have always been pride themselves with exclusivity and limited offer and things like that. But I think probably the world is moving very fast, and information is going to reach to all our clients. It's something that we cannot avoid. So I think it's actually more positive to see it as how do we include our new customer by able to manage this digital platform well. So it actually gain business and recruitment. And at the same time, I think if I'm already a loyal client of a brand, I would also like to know more about the brand through the digital platform so that I can actually have more engagement with the brand. So it's not only when you go to the store and then you will interact with the brand. So I think that's definitely very important. But at the same time, I do feel that in the industry, in the luxury industry, I think we all need to be a little bit more mindful about the communication strategy with our clients. I think I'm sure all of you in your Instagram or in your Facebook, how many messages you receive from a brand that you have shopped with them, maybe in Instagram. Every day there is so many posts. I think we have to rethink what is the appropriate frequency and what is appropriate to communicate to which customer. So meaning the database, how do we do segmentation, and what to say to a different customer, and it's quite important so that the customer don't feel that it's just a mass communication channel without valuing who I am and are you genuinely getting in touch with me. And then at the same time, I feel that we should not be ignoring the in-store experience. While we are promoting the e-experience, I think for our brand, we are still looking at how our in-store staff could promote the engagement with the clients, how to be more personable with them, what are the activities that is relevant to the clients, to have that one-on-one interaction that I think we have mentioned it before. Sometimes that human elements is always, will never disappear in the relationship.
I think that is interesting because you have mentioned about, how to manage the communications to the customers and who are you talking to. So the customer segmentation is important. And when I heard about, all the different view, I hear one scope of customer segmentations and one scope of customer relationship management that is centralized, because we have all the data, all the information, because we have so many brands under the group. Or I hear about, regionalize it, because specifically I want to tap into this market, I want to tap into China, so my customer relations, my CRM program has to be very regional. So what is the right way for a business? Regionalize it or centralize it? Global it. So any thoughts from any of our experts, maybe Morgan, you can share, why globalizations and, and while Jimmy wants it regionally, specifically to that one.
I think whether it's centralized or regional, I think it's really about where the data sits. It's where the repository is. It's who is taking that data and then making insights. I think that's the most important, is drawing insights and then taking action on it. So for Shiseido Hong Kong, we wanted to centralize that expertise in one team. We have about 14 people. I think for him, it could sit in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong usually is a regional hub, but it's covering a greater amount of markets. For us, it's just Hong Kong. We do have a global CRM project that we are running with our Digital Center of Excellence based out of Hong Kong. It's a project that we're working with Accenture. And the idea is to collect our data so that we have a singular view of our customer in Hong Kong. As I mentioned, we have about 25 brands in Hong Kong. And we probably, at the moment, we have almost 1 million active users buying our brands. We like to have a singular view because I'm pretty sure that we have one customer buying across our brands in prestige, consumer, and hair. And so once we have that, we want to roll that up into regional. Regional then includes China because over half of our business comes from mainland Chinese. And so I am pretty sure that they are also buying in China. So if we can have a singular view of these two markets, then that's a regional view. And then we roll it up into global. So I think it's really about where the data sits.
Yes.
And how you use it and what actions, what's next, what's the business impact.
Certainly, I think it is important whether you look at it from a global point of view or regional point of view, you need to know who is your customers and how to communicate to them. And I think that is from a retailer's point of view. But I wanted to check with Eugene, as a designer, you also have a particular customer in mind and you have business in different countries. So how do you manage it? How do you reach to your target customers?
For us, because for us, we're like a small brand, so we don't really have that budget to keep up with the pace of the really high-tech marketing tools and things like that. For us, it depends where we're going. It depends where I'm doing the fashion show and where we exhibiting the designs. But I have an interesting point of view towards this marketing thing. I think sometimes it's also good to go back to primitive, like throwing underground parties and trying to spread the name of the brand by word of mouth. Sometimes it's also a very good way to efficiently promote the brand than just always think about how to do online store and how to promote it through online.
I think it's interesting because you mentioned to us before that you had curated this pop-up, that you have gathered together, your customers, and then you are also a musician, so you also have gathered some musicians together. So it's almost like building a community to tap into the targeted customer. Was that successful for you, Eugene? That particular pop-up setup, was it successful for you?
Yes, because it's not like something that's always there.
Yeah.
It's like only there for like 10 days. And when we combine a lot of things like doing music and not just fashion, lifestyle products and all that stuff. And people have the urgency to go and visit the store and buy what they want. And it was quite interesting because a lot of tourists actually came in and they liked the stuff, but they don't have the money to buy it at that time. They want me to send it over to where they belong later. And so I have to keep things for them. I think short-term stores like that actually it's quite benefit to small brands like us.
So it's different types of operation has different flexibility, but I think the focus is to understand who is your customers and how to reach out to those customers. I think that is the key word. I think Jimmy, it seems like Jimmy has something to say. Okay, please do, Jimmy, share with us. What is your thought?
I definitely agree with Eugene and Blondie because it's we really want to personalize every customers because we really want to give personalized attention to all the customers. This is definitely the key of retail. And for Farfetch, we don't want to. We understand that it is a must that we have the brick and mortar store, and e-commerce is definitely an omni-channel to help out. And then this is first thing. And then what I mean is to personalize is that we are trying to use AI or trying to use our data to give a personalized attention to our customers. Like, for example, nowadays, millennial customers, they might not like to have staff sales follow up following their orders
Yeah.
or following them in the store. They know what they want. They do their research online. They do have a lot of information. Then they just want to go to the store, pay, and get it done and go. So that is how we analyze data. And the other way is that, for example, if this is a VIP customer, very loyal customer, we want to, I mean, in the past, in my experience, we do write down what they have bought in the past. So now, with the help of database, we know what they have bought in the previous season or with even photos in your database.
So instead of that little black book that they have in the
Exactly.
pocket, the staff will have an iPad.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And of course, further to the development of AI, then we try to analyze what is happening in the trend in the coming season, and then we can even let them pre-order. Is that true? That is something that I'm really looking forward to.
I would like to share a case with you that recently IBM has collaborated with Tommy Hilfiger.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I can name this company, and also FIT. They analyze 600,000 one-way images, and also for sure a vast amount of the product items of Tommy Hilfiger, and based on this so-called the engine. They predict, the fashion trend, and even down to so-called the color, silhouette, something like that. So this is actually, the main trend of current online companies and also the AI technology companies. They would like, to provide more personalized, service to the online shoppers. I'm sure that it is, I think in coming few years, this is whatever JD.com, Alibaba, they will follow this trend.
Yeah, definitely, because I think right now, like for Farfetch, we do have all our customers' database. So we have the database, we have the analysis of what they have bought and what they have browsed but not bought. So we have all these data. And then the next thing we could tap on is perhaps, and that's why we acquired Style.com. So we have fashion trends. We know the fashion trends. And then with the data and the photos on fashion trends, and then perhaps in the future we tap with their Instagram or Facebook, then with all these platforms all together, we can start analyzing. But still, that are data. That are raw,
Exactly.
that's
They are
raw data.
data,
Then
yes.
I really want to look forward to AI.
You better get his phone number and talk about it later, at your own time. But I want to draw on that point is they are data.
Yeah.
And they are data that, human being at this moment, human being or our student, when they pursue their career, they will have that talent to analyze the data, to make the decisions, or at least, to analyze the data so that they can create that customer experience or that customer interactions with the customers. I think that's the excitement about the new retail areas because we have all these resources, we have all these informations, technologies, but it is human being at this moment, human being that apply it and using the creativity to maximize it so that, our future leaders among us, after they graduate from ITC or after, they are pursuing a career, they will have that mindset and be ready to pursue. So in that case, Eugene, I know you mentioned that you also use a lot of technologies in your design fabrications. Will that be the same for design students? I mean, applying those technologies and use the human emotions to create, future garments. Because I always talk to Kelvin and say, I want a jacket one day that will measure my temperature, that keeps me warm in winter, but the same jacket will keep me very cool in summer. I'm waiting for that fabric. So will that be the case for a designer?
Well, what you just mentioned about, the fabrics that can measure your temperature.
Yes.
It actually came true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because recently as I always like to, look for high-tech fabrics, and one of the latest technologies, they have this conductive thread weaved into the fabrics. So you can actually connect the fabrics with the smartphone. So you can just swipe the fabrics, and you can control the smartphone. But I think this kind of technology is very important, and for me, in my design process, I always look for things like that in the very initial stage.
Yeah.
Very initial stage, because you can actually revolve your design around things like that. And it's not just add value to your aesthetics, it also add value to the gimmick and novelty qualities of your collections. But what I found really interesting with things like this is, since I study all this vintage, retro aesthetics and all these 80s sci-fi movies, I like to look for technologies and stuff like that, and then try to translate that into my collection. But all these technologies, being from movies 20 to 30 years ago, actually becomes real technology right now.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just the one that we just talked about, that temperature thing. It's like new technology, but it's also the same old technology that you've seen in movies 20 to 30 years ago. Well, let me give you one example. The power lace shoes by Nike. They first introduced that in 1989 in the movie Back to the Future 2, trying to predict what happens in 2015, trying to predict what sneakers is going to be like in 2015. Of course, that particular shoes is just props in 1989. But after 22 years, they actually developed that into real shoes. And right now, that old technology has become new technology. And it might become one of the industry standard and industry norm as well. So I think, again, like futurism, technology, imagination is always interlinked. Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of fashions and beauty of, the elements that we share with our students is the creativities, the tactical thinkings and, the strategic thinkings. May I ask, because of the time and whatnot, may I ask, any particular insight that you can share with our students, from your own experience? Maybe I'll start with Blondie. Any particular insight? I know Alessandro mentions that, you have to have that attitude to, go for it. And any particular insight that you want to share with our students or the young talents that we have among us from your point of view? Yeah.
For their career?
Yes.
I think I cannot agree more with what Alexandro has said. I think if you really want to join in a particular area in retail or fashion, I think go and have that experience, whether it's your first job or internship, to be in the physical store and try to understand what this fashion retail is all about. I think I worked with Kim with some of your fellow students as our intern in the office. But I think in order to be successful and really genuinely understand what this business is about, you need to work in the store at least for a period of time. And then you really can gravitate the mindset of a client and what kind of relationship that this kind of buy and sell relationship should be. It's a little bit go back to basic as well.
What about Morgan? I think you have mentioned that people is an important element when you build the structures and when you join Shiseido's. The people element is important. And any particular things that you wanted to share with our students?
So I would agree with what the most of the panelists have said. Hong Kong is predominantly a bricks and mortar market. It's unlike China, where you have geographical challenges, and it's not the States where you're spread across 50 states. So bricks and mortar will always be important. So yes, the store is important in terms of gaining experience. But I would still suggest all of you to still have, if you have the opportunity to learn, to go to class and learn digital marketing, understand how e-commerce works. That is going to be the future. For Shiseido, even though right now we don't have e-commerce yet, we will by next year. And even if it's 5% of our sales, that is, it's not so much about the business, the revenue generated. It's more about, it's a channel. So whether it's a department store or a mall, or you're going to Sephora because they will come back. The online gives you additional channel to reach your customer. And so learning how that ecosystem works, I think, is really important. I think in terms of, I don't know, advice, because I've been in the business for 25 years, I would say that it's about trying. Don't be afraid. Try. And I hate the word fail, because fail implies you've done something wrong or it hasn't succeeded. But failing allows you to learn. And if you don't learn, you never grow. So I would suggest that it's to just try, learn, and then iterate. The digital word is iterate. Iterate means you kind of pivot, and you make some adjustments, and then you go forward. But that is so important. Just trying. So try different things. I think whether it's a fashion store or a beauty store, in the end it's retail, right? And so fashion is one product category. I think the store is definitely important. We all know when we read that 60% of millennials still consider the store an important part of their journey in the 8 steps of the path to purchase. So the store in Hong Kong is important. So for sure, whether they're there to explore, to validate, to buy, to test some things, I think the physical that store will be important. But don't forget the digital aspect.
Yes, I think that's the beauty of what we've been saying that in the industry is the omni-channels, that you have the seamless experience, be it online and offline. I think as retailers, it is still very important to have that in-store experience with the efficiency of the technologies. Alessandro, any advice for our students from human resources point of view, besides you have shared earlier?
Yeah, I would like to link back to a couple of points that were said before. We were discussing about data and everything will change about data. Everyone has to have data skills, etc. It's nothing new. So when we were, in the old world and we needed to understand how to serve a customer, to give the best service to the customer, what we were saying was, okay, you have to know your customer. To know your customer, you have to have information, which is data. I mean, in that kind of world, we were scribbling down, on a black book, famously. Yeah. But that is unnecessary. I mean, we humans are not made or are not fulfilled by doing tasks such as scribbling things on a book. We are made and we can fulfill ourselves doing something interesting where we can apply our creativity, we can use our brains fully. So that is what technology is doing, is getting rid of the unnecessary things and let us focus on added value, as we usually say. But whatever buzzword you want to use, focusing on interesting things. So my advice would be, don't focus on trends, focus on concepts. I mean, if you are able to identify what the concept is, very simple ones. They are more or less always the same as we, get bored and reinvent ourselves constantly. If you focus on concepts, then you can fully utilize your potential. And in this sense, I think it's very worth to focus, for example, on creativity, on relationship skills. It might sound a little bit strange, in the beginning of your career, because you say, okay, I need to get the fundamentals first, and then, I don't agree with that. So the skills you can get relatively easily, but focusing on your soft skills, as they are called, is really important, is what makes the difference really in choosing one person or another. Competent people, it's full everywhere. People who have an advantage in relating to other departments, in discovering things, in proposing a new idea, those are much more valuable in my opinion.
I think it's wonderful that you mentioned soft skills. I think we focus, right now with technologies, we focus very much on the hard skill, the technologies, but sometimes we forgot the fundamental, the soft skills, even how to connect with, your customers, how to relate and listen to your customers. I think that is also very important. because of time, we have some questions from the audience, and then we have one particular student, which is also an alumni. She wants to address this either to Blondie or Jimmy. She says that different retail technologies has been widely adopted in the global fashion industry. However, we don't see many changes in Hong Kong. So what are the threats and the opportunities for Hong Kong fashion retailers at the moment? Amazing that our
Wow,
alumni,
that's amazing question.
Yes, because they are our alumni, ITC alumni, Okay, so share your thoughts.
Well, I think we shouldn't only look into Hong Kong. I think we are very close to China, so definitely China and Asia Pacific, we can see it as a whole, or even globally, we should see it as a whole because we have a lot of Chinese customers or whatever customers around the globe. So it's not really. I won't say it's down to a particular region. So that's one thing, and then it's true. It's definitely true that Hong Kong e-commerce is a bit behind. It's a bit slow comparing to elsewhere. But I think we are picking up, as in LVMH Group and Kering Group, also picking up very fast with e-commerce in Hong Kong. I think we will have a lot of talent. So that's why I would really encourage everybody to start tapping into e-commerce. Can't agree more with Alessandro regarding creativity and curiosity. That is also my strong recommendation to the students, because even in Farfetch, also as in Google or other e-commerce companies, we do not have a very standardized hierarchy in the company. So it's always very flat. We encourage curiosity of everybody. Whoever comes up with an idea, we will write it on a whiteboard or wherever, drop it down, and then you can propose this new idea to our upper level.
So it's changing the management's mindset so that they can see.
Yeah, it's not really like in a traditional way, I would say.
Any thoughts from you, Blondie? Any comments on that particular questions?
I think fundamentally it's because the market of Hong Kong is small and it's a small city. So then the practical side of having e-commerce may be less when it first started compared with China or the US, other places. So that was geography. But I think we all are sitting here believing that this momentum is going to be much faster. And I think especially luxury retail, I think we are the one that may be a little bit more behind than other industries. But certainly we agree that we look at it as not just Hong Kong. We see it as either Asia Pacific or Greater China. So we see it as a bigger market segment now, because we know Chinese clients also travel tremendously, so it's no longer a regional business. It will be a greater business. So I think it will be much better.
I think it is a global mindset that we have mentioned. I think do not look at the business as just one location. Look at the fashion business as a global business. So with that, the planning and then the strategy will be slightly different. But I want to point one question which we just received. This is also a question that I was not there to ask, but since we have a audience, which is also a professor that asked this question, directing to Blondie, because we're all very excited. We knew that, the new designer, Eddie, is coming on board very shortly. So I think everybody is looking toward to the new collections. And actually, if Eddie comes to Hong Kong, we are welcome to have him anyway. Okay, but what are the changes? What are the strategies? Would that bring, a different strategy from Phoebe to Eddie? Because the designer is important.
Do you want to share the answer?
So yes, we are very excited about the new creative director who has joined Celine since February. His name is Hedi Sleeman, who was the designer for Saint Laurent and who created Dior Homme 10 years ago. I think definitely, I won't see it as because of a new creative director, things will change 360 degrees. It's more about the readiness of the brand. As I explained, we started 10 years ago, and we took the time to build a network of stores globally. So end of last year, we have 150 stores globally of Celine. Relative to the size of the business, we're actually doing quite well with a very controlled network of stores. So I guess it was more now we are ready to put our investment also in digital and e-commerce based on our store network has been very well established or more established than before because I'm sure you guys have seen our stores in London or Paris, but back 2 or 3 years ago, we did not have a store in the capital of Germany. So there are other quite important countries that we want to establish our foot in the last 2-3 years. So now we're ready to do that. And with Hedi, I think, and definitely I believe the brand will be a brand that is going to definitely catch a younger generation. That's definitely the goal. So I think we always think from the customer point of view. If that is part of our strategy, I believe digital e-commerce and a more digital marketing-driven strategy would definitely apply to the future.
And if I can just briefly add on that, because Hedi Sleeman was Saint Laurent was the one who designed this jacket, I think it's very interesting to see that brands in different phases need also different kind of pushes and talents. And we're now extremely happy with the designer that came after Hedi Sleeman, who is Anthony Vaccarello. But I have to say that what Hedi brought to Saint Laurent, and I think will also bring to Celine, is this complete alignment of all the different parts of the brand. So it's products, of course, but it's also advertising, it's also store concepts, is how to approach both employees and customers. So this particular aspect is very good at, and I think you will soon see the effects.
I think, I just wanted to wrap up because of the time, but I think it is exciting that it all goes back when a designer, not only just a designer driving a brand, it's the creativity of that designers that drives the brand, understanding, what does the brand stands for and, who are the customers. With all this excitement that we have received today, I just want to wrap up one last question to Kelvin. I mean, with all the changes, with all the digital, soft skill, all the technologies that we have, what is ITC doing, to prepare our students? What changes have we implemented?
Actually, we have already revamped our BA program, and the first cohort, will be admitted in coming September. Based on the current program we are now offering, we will offer more new subjects to cope, with the change of the industry. Like we add, the subjects like CRM, customer relationship management, fashion advertising and promotion, fashion entrepreneurship management, and also fashion communications, something like that. At the same time, we are also actively collaborating with some retailers like this year, thank you, Morgan, thank you, Bondi, giving us, the opportunities for our students, to have the internship opportunities, in your companies. And other than Shiseido and also Celine, we are now collaborating with Quartz, Sci-Film, Farfetch, and the other brands. And we do hope that we can do more. So please don't reject my cold calling, in coming future.
A little bit of advertising here.
Yeah. So I think it's very important. Not only, limit our students in the classroom, because in the classroom we just teach the students about the principles, theories about fashion marketing and retailing, but they must have a chance, to work with the companies in business context. So we do hope that you can give us more support to do this, because after graduation, for sure they will join our fashion retail, very exciting industry.
Yes.
So this is what we are now doing.
Yeah. I think we truly appreciate, all the experts that has taken your time to share your experience, to share your insight with us. I understand that many of you reschedule your traveling schedule just for the student, just for us, and we truly appreciate that. I know some of you will be leaving for Korea tonight, some of you will be leaving for Japan tomorrow, some of you just came back from Australia, and some of you reschedule your entire New York Teams meeting to tomorrow and Wednesday, so you can spend time. Truly, I mean, on behalf of the students, on behalf of our friends, we truly want to say thank you. It is wonderful to have you with us, and many of you has also offered wonderful summer programs for our students so that they can actually learn, from your management team. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we still have a lot of questions, but because of the time, I would like to say thank you to all of our experts, and please do give them a round of a hand. And at this moment, I will actually like to invite the Dean of our faculty, Professor Wong, to come and present a small souvenirs to all of our guests. I would like to ask our guests to step forward. And Professor Wong, please come forward and share and have a little bit of souvenirs for all the guests. Please remain on the stage. Professor Wong, please stay. At this moment, I would like to also invite the head of our department, Professor Johnson, and the Honorable Phyllis Chung to come forward so that we can have a group photo with our guest. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you for your being with us today. And please, I hope you have enjoyed today's discussions. Should you have any questions, I'm sure later on you can catch up with some of our experts. But at this moment, I would like to say that we have a wonderful time, and this will conclude our expert forum for today. Thank you very much. We hope to see you very, very soon.